And wait a few seconds, because it takes a bit for YouTube to get going. Oh yeah, maybe I should do this too.
All participants are muted.
Alright everybody, come with me and Ed for the disclaimers. Let's go on a little bit of a travel expedition. Ed, take it away.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We know it's what people call Christmas Eve. To me, I look at things a little different than most, especially when because I know about the satanic structure of mind control, the way it's written to generally control the general public. Like Halloween, all these holidays are satanic holidays, and it's a proven fact. And just do the research. That's the one thing I ask people: do the research before you judge, because until you do the research, you have no right to speak or say something wrong unless you know what the law is. And the law of the United States is the Constitution, not a Bible. Anyhow, I would like to bring some very exciting news forward that corporation President Trump brought forward this last week. Again, executive order blocking the property of persons involved in a serious human rights abuse or corporation. This is basically the Hillary Clinton bill and the bill that is for elected and public employees, beside others, that abuse their privilege of employment. This is basically a public employee bill that says if you're using this for personal and financial gain, that includes judges that are kidnapping and holding children for hostage, or you getting kidnapped and held for the rights to travel, or so long as you're fishing. And remember, these laws, the Constitution applies to lawful bloodline Americans. Persons, citizens, and nationals do not have rights. This is a proven fact by court, by the structure of the law. I have even brought it forward. Excuse me. I have written some of the instruments on these things that have been presented to the House and Senate of Oregon, through House and Senate, through other the 48 states. Hawaii, Alaska are not part of the 48 states. They are part of the corporation, a 50-state corporation. They are not of we the people. So that's the one thing that people need to comprehend, that reality of facts compared to what we are allegedly taught to believe. It's like Christmas. It's another one of those lies that we get taught in education. You know, I mean, kids are taught and raised that you could be rotten all along Christmas, and Christmas time come along, you still get your gift, even though that you were bad. So we teach kids that being bad is actually okay. You get praised for it. And it is true. You watch it, you see it yourself around that, and it is sad that we live through this part of life like this instead of educating and being honest with the children, and so that way they don't get raised by lies, that they continue to their third generation, that they do this for their own personal and financial gain, as some do. And I mean that dealing with like the county jail that we have in my county was not put in our county until 1993. I publicly spoke against it, told the community if they vote for this, these people, when they come to this community, these Christians that run the jail, they're going to rape, rob, and pillage you. They're going to do all these horrible things to your children. And they put all these children's courts in and all this fraud from England under the Bible religious people. Put all this stuff in. Says if you don't go by our religion, we're going to execute you, we're going to put you in jail, and we're going to steal and rape, rob, and pillage you. That includes every religion beside Christians. All religions rape, rob, and pillage. They do that in their own writings, their own books. They say that it's acceptable. Even raping children is in the King James Bible, and people go, it's acceptable. That's the other thing, that Romans 13 in the Bible says that shall do what the elected and public employees tell you. Remember, we the lawful bloodline Americans are the government. Article 1, Section 10, contract law. So this is Article 1, Section 2, I mean Amendment 2. It's one thing that is, people don't read the Constitution. Most people read the Bible and have a concept of the Bible, but, that's like what this day they're claiming is about. But see, the whole thing about this circumstance is that the Bible dictates to you how to live. It does not give you rights. Excuse me. I have people all the time that would tell me, well, Ed, a woman's pregnant and she should have an abortion. She's supposed to do what we tell her to do. She doesn't have any rights. Well, that's like traveling, you have a guide. I'm not going to use the devil's word. You have the Great Spirit and Mother Nature and the Creator's right to travel. And the reason why I say God, if you look at the German terminology of God in the German language, it's the devil. If you look at Old St. Nick in the dictionary, this is not a joke. You can look it up, Old St. Nick in a dictionary. I have it on the websites that we have on the internet. That is called the United States for America, Elected and Public Employees Oversight. We do have it on the Recall Kate Brown site. We do have it on the Civil War 1866 Lawful Bloodline site and New Oregon Tracker site on Facebook. And these are the things that people need to comprehend what the truth is compared to the fantasy they're living and telling people what they think they are, because opinions are like diapers. They need to be changed regularly. And that's the one thing that people don't comprehend, that when they talk, they use all these English words, British Roman Catholic words, and I do have conversations with other men dealing with religion quite frequently, and they will get into the point where, dealing with trying to convince me about religion. And it's like, no, I've done my research on religion. I even got the structure up with Christmas on our website so people could read it, read the history. You can always type in Christianity mind control and its terrifying powers over believers. And the reason why I say that, because those people who believe in Jesus Christ, if Jesus Christ sat down next to you, made a miracle happen, you'll still call him a liar. You wouldn't believe it was Jesus Christ. You wouldn't believe that he had the power. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't believe it. And that's the problem we have today with the rights to travel. People don't believe they have a right to travel. We got immigrants that are coming to this country and claiming that they have a right to travel under the Constitution, and say the Constitution is supposed to be protecting immigrants. I have talked to other people on talk shows that they go off and going, well, immigrants have rights to travel, and immigrants have rights in this country, but Americans don't. You don't have a right in this country. Well, I hate to really break the news to you, but the Constitution gives lawful bloodline Americans rights. Immigration has privileges, I know. I wrote the separation of lawful and legal that was served on the Supreme Court for Judge Roberts and Judge Scalia, and Judge Scalia had it in his possession at the time he was murdered. And I was suggested to make sure he had it before he went to Texas, which I did. And he did have it in his possession when he went to Texas. That's the one thing that people need to comprehend, what the truth is in this country, compare the fantasy that we bring the children up. Because if you go back in history dealing with the British Accreditation Registry called the Bar, and this is the one thing that people don't realize, but the bar, your attorneys and lawyers are from England. They're not Americans. We have the laws that we put up on our sites, and it's on new.Oregon Tracker site on the main website. During the middle of the 16th century, the Crown of England established a crown to be accredited, and this was established the first international bar association. Allow barristers, lawyers, that's basically your court jesters, from all nationalities to form and be recognized at accreditation by the only recognized accreditation society from this is the basically acorn bar, B-A-R, the bar that you have in each state. And this is the one thing that people got to start accepting. The bar is run by your Roman Catholic Bible. Your courts are run by the Bible. When you go and you get your hand spanked, you know, called a violation. Violations are because you didn't do what you were told by the Bible. You were speeding. You swore in public, so you didn't have free speech by the Constitution. Or if you saw some tranny and you called her by the real structure of what she is, and you're supposed to go to jail because of free speech, you're not supposed to speak the truth anymore. I mean, I grew up in San Francisco with the gay and lesbian community. We knew who was gay, you knew who was lesbian by their body language. It amazes me how stupid, dumbass people are today. They have no intelligence, there's no brain. Everything's plugged into a computer in their hand called an iPhone, an iPad or something, and they don't think. They're not living in reality. They don't live in reality. And the corporation of each state has the Bar Association, and if you type in the Bar Association, it was founded, American Bar Association was founded August 21st, 1878. And if you actually type it in and you look at the history of the Bar Association, even for each state, states that the bar is accreditation to the Vatican, to the Queen of England. And that's where you pay your taxes. Everybody goes, oh, we got taxes we have to pay. There's no law says you do have to pay it. Read it. You're not supposed to pay on labor. Interest and dividends is what the Supreme Court has stated. And that's off of stocks and bonds, because that's basically fictitious fake money that you're making off of stocks and bonds. That's like these private jails that every county has. I'm in the county jail that they put into our county in 1993. That's a private jail that is owned by the judges, the local corporation businesses, and the attorneys. And some of the cops do invest in them. And remember, police departments and cops are not there to protect you. The Supreme Court has definitely stated that very well in their decisions, that says the police department can rape, rob, and pillage. It's called legal system. Legal is British government, not American. And that's the one thing you have to comprehend when you're traveling down the road and you get one of these guys that pull you over at gunpoint. And that's basically what they're doing, because they remember they have arms on their hips. Of course, they call them guns. They don't go by the Constitution, because they really can't go by the Constitution, because there is no structure for them under the three branches of administrative government. Remember, there's 4 branches of government. The first branch is we the lawful Americans. The other 3 is the executive, the judicial, and legal, or administrative. And so that's the one thing that people have got to come to the conclusion and do real history compared to what they get brought up and the confusions of their mind. And I know, I've argued with that even in past relationships, where it's always frustrating when you get women that sit there and they care more about what the people in the public and the community think than they do themselves. And so do men in a lot of relationships. They don't care about what their relationship is with their better half. They care more with, especially church or religion. You know, I had one female tell me, I believe in the Bible recently, and I said, yeah, that's Satan's book, and that's what destroyed your family. Like, you know, wake up. You know, you say you believe in stuff when in turn you don't believe in what you think, and you're willing to sell your family for money. You're willing to sell your family for an idea of what somebody in a community thought. And that's the point. People do sell their family, you know, cheap, even because remember, the paper money that you have today that is called Federal Reserve notes is a corporation piece of paper, an IOU, never gets paid. It's a paid a promissory note to pay that never gets paid. And that's the one thing about it, by law. It's one of those things that there is a law on that you cannot use Federal Reserve notes to pay debt. And that's the saddest part, that people don't know the laws. They don't go by the laws. The Constitution law. They'll go by statute codes. They'll read the Bible and go by a Bible that tells them the end of the world is going to come and we're all dead. Well, let me tell you, they've been doing that for 1,000 years, saying the end of the world and Jesus Christ is supposed to come back and rise from the dead and all this shit. It's been said for each generation. Wake up. Are you that stupid? You know? And I always love it with these immigrants, you know, that, oh, we don't need the wall. And it's, we want the wall. I'm tired of having our tax dollars because I'm going to be bluntly honest with you. Let's say the wall costs $10 billion, but then again we spend $99 to $100 billion a year on foreign terrorists. So, yep, it's like, you know, it's like we have to do this. And we have to put the wall up. We have to protect our children. You know? And that's the point. It's like people don't realize that we have rights, not privileges. And if you don't protect your rights to travel, your rights to feed yourself, and everybody keeps going on about the humanitarian efforts that, oh, shit, you know, we got, what do they call that, warming, you know, the earth is warming and all this stuff. Well, just for your information, England passed the carbon tax, and carbon tax is on your breathing, your lungs. When you breathe in and out of your lungs, that's carbon. And so when you breathe in and out, and then they're taxing you to live. So you got to realize, and your Bible does this to you. And if you actually read the Bible, your Bible taxes you in the Bible. And it's like, that's the main thing that people got to get over this point. Really, they got to get over this point, because the thing is like, you know, I just get another message dealing with the wall. Oh, we don't want the wall. It keeps people inside as well as outside. You're damn right we want the wall up, because we don't want the foreign diseases. And when the people start turning into what they call zombies, but cannibals, because we're getting ready to go to a cannibal stage, because the food in your grocery store, 60% of it today is not food. It's not food at all. That's where you guys have got to start comprehending what the truth is compared to the fantasy people are living. So when it comes down to your rights to travel, and I'm going to start bringing some stuff on insurance and this other stuff on the rights to travel, what the law is. And I'm talking law. I'm not talking, you know, statute codes or administrative rules or people who are not educated to be responsible, who have failed in educating their own children. And that's the one thing that always amazes me, when people fail to educate their children and then they want to blame the school system. Then they want to blame something else. Well, when you fail to educate your child, it's your responsibility, your fault, not the child. Alright, so a lot of us didn't get educated when we grew up. We know that's a fact. That's a real fact, you know, because mainly our parents didn't have the education and knowledge. They got stuck in front of a TV set. And so when it comes down to, like, your paper money, if you go to United States Code 3124, you will start reading, and the other one is 18 U.S. 8, Obligation of Security of the United States. You'll find out when you use a dollar bill to pay like medical bills and electricity bills, it's a federal crime technically to use a debt note to pay debt. It really is. You know, it's a crime. And so our forefathers have put this structure in place, and so that is the one point that you know, it's like I get a response back dealing with the border wall. They don't adhere to anything. They are barbaric. Yes, we know that. That's why we want the wall up. That's why we have to protect our children. Because it's our responsibility to protect the children in our communities, as some will say. I don't like using certain words, communities and stuff. I don't like using British terminology that we've been mind controlled to believe in. And that is the one thing that people do not realize, that the way our English has been done. When they took cursive out of schools, you know, people don't realize cursive is actually cussing when you're writing. Cursive means cursing. That's why you do it in a script. And the script is done by pen. You know, and that is the point. You know, we go through this stuff and we have the stuff in place. And it is learning how this stuff works compared to the fantasy most people live. And believe me, most people do live in fantasy. That is the one thing a lot of people do. I mean, today, like, for example, today, we're supposed to be celebrating, you know, the birth of Jesus Christ, they claim. But if we do real history, Jesus was born, what, Easter? It's like people lie to their children because we're programmed to lie. Then we get told that it's acceptable to lie. And that is the stuff that, you know, it's destroying this country. That's why I was glad that Obama put in the law that he did. And let me give you a valid point of view when you're traveling. And if you get some terrorist that uses red, yellows, or whatever, lights on you blue, all right, we do have it up. It's called firehouse.com, and it actually gives you the law when a cop can use their lights, and it has to be like an ambulance. An ambulance can only use its lights when it's a life and death emergency. That's the same thing with a police vehicle. I'm not going to use covered wagon because they're a corporation vehicle that we the public own. And there are structure manuals, and it's called Emergency Vehicle Operators Course Instructors Manual. They actually have manuals out on this that you can only use emergency lights in a life and death emergency. And they walk you through the structure on it. And that is the main thing that people don't comprehend what a police officer can and cannot do. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some officers out there that I do give credit that are doing the right thing, that are honoring their oath of servitude, not the oath to the contract of the devil of the Vatican Church. Because their job is to rape, rob, and pillage for financial gain for the mayor, city council, and the banks. They don't care about you. And to say you figure that out, you know, when they steal your kids and they, you know, break up families for personal and financial gain, that's what's happening. So it gets into the structure dealing with the lights and what they cannot use their lights on for pulling you over on the rights to travel. And these are things that we do have up on new.org and trackers, and I have them up on the Facebook site too, and then, you know, email me, I'll get the other stuff to you. But it's knowing your rights, and so when you get pulled over by a public servant, that a police officer is supposed to be a public servant, because he's supposed to take an oath to the Constitution, and I do have that structure that they do take an oath to the Constitution, but that's when they go through training, and then when they go to the city, they take another oath to the corporation. So basically they're saying they don't have to go by their original oath, is how they get around this stuff. And that's what the saddest part about what's going on. You know, like I said, we didn't have this court in our county until 1993. And I told these people what was going to happen, and it's going to bleed this county out. And all these people, all these public employees, these Democrats out there, oh, we need to have this because of drunk drivers. We need to have this because of stupid people that are not responsible. Yeah, we know stupid people are not responsible. But we, the people, are supposed to be responsible. So, seeing that we don't have the proper education, it's our responsibility to educate them. You know, I mean, we've got videos that I've put up where police officers have literally pulled over ambulances because they were speeding with their lights on and getting a man or a woman to the hospital, and there's reports where men and women have actually died in the ambulance. There are reports where police officers have pulled over people for speeding trying to get a man or a woman to the hospital when they're having severe medical problems and they die in the car or a covered wagon. Now, when those things happen, that public servant needs to be written up and brought on murder charges. And you'll hear that the district attorney says, well, we won't do that. Of course the district attorney's not going to do that because they sleep in the same bed. They rape, rob, and pillage from the same corporation. They have the legal system called the Bible that gives them the right to kill and rape and rob. So you have to write the criminal charges on these men and women. And I do see that happening. People have been reading a lot of our information up there. I've been noticing a lot of people have been bringing this stuff out on criminal charges. Excuse me. And that's the main point, is that we, the people, have to write the criminal charges. We, the lawful bloodline Americans, are the ones that can write an affidavit. Immigration can write an affidavit. Okay? And if an attorney puts in an affidavit, that's called hearsay witness. Yeah, and that's the one thing that, people don't comprehend how the affidavit structure works. When you write an affidavit, if you lie in an affidavit, usually a judge could put you in a minimum of 6 months, but usually up to, I think it's 5 years in jail. It says 1 year, but I believe the actual structure is 5 years. So, and that's the one thing I go by, because if you lie in an affidavit, you shall be liable. To me, that is simple. I've had my neighbors lie, made false police reports, trying to put me in federal prison to keep my mouth shut up like I'm talking to you right now, explaining and telling you the law, telling you what statute codes and administrative rules are of a corporation that has privileged personnel that works for us. And then people say, well, they get paid from the tax dollars. That's a lie, folks, because when you pay that debt note to the county tax assessor, that raises up the debt, that raises up the structure for the Democratic Party, the Roman Catholic Church, and these men and women to rape, rob, and pillage. And that's what it's all about. Just to rape, rob, and pillage. And people gotta start accepting this truth. Now, anyhow, I've got the structure up, and I think we have it up on our walls, or our new.org site, and I posted this up on the Facebook site. There is no requirements, or law requires you to record your automobile. 41 CFR, tells you you don't have to have your vehicle registered. Federal law says you don't have to register your vehicle. Federal law says you don't need a driver's license so long as you're lawful in the country. And that is actually Oregon State Administrative Rule Code 2, 446.003.33. You don't need a driver's license to travel. You don't need insurance in the state of Oregon. I'm going to read the insurance deal. Let me explain the point of insurance. It seems from all the comments, the lack of the contract. And people know what Article 1, Section 10 is, the contract. So dealing with insurance is a racketeering and a scam to basically put a uniform bonding code of law, administrative code, and it's a gambling racketeering structure. Because when you pay into this lottery system of insurance, the board decides if they want to pay out the claim or not. That's why they have agents on the auto insurance policy. And I do recommend that you serve these agents and insurance companies the structure of registration of the foreign 1938 Foreign Agent Registration Act, because they're agents under foreign structure, under an insurance policy that is from the British government, the Roman Catholic Church, and Christianity, because they're the same, trust me. I've already proven this, and then you do the real research, you'll see it. As part of what goes back in history, because they are one and the same, but people want to argue and try to say, oh no, they're not the same, but they are. Remember, Roman Catholic Church started the the Christian Crusades, and when they crucified allegedly Jesus on the cross, the Christians were the ones who turned Jesus over to the Roman Catholic Church. It's all in history. In history. Read real history. Don't read what the Democrats put out, like Pelosi and all these people that rape, rob, and pillage for their own gain. So I always thought it was interesting that Pelosi's husband gets that billion-dollar contract for the railroad in California. You know, still can't believe Jerry Brown is still in office. But when it gets into your automobile, so when you're paying this insurance, and I have a videotape with me and Senator Arnie Roeblen, and you can type in Ed Johnston and Senator Arnie Roeblen, and you can watch the YouTube video where I asked him point blank in his office, you know, about the uninsured motorist fund that's paid in your vehicle registration. Yeah, and his response was, oh, Ed, that money's been spent. No, it hasn't. $1 trillion doesn't get spent, and $1 trillion rolls over interest so much that the interest covers every lawful American in the state of Oregon or each state to travel. But they rape, rob, and pillage. They steal the money. They lie to us where the money is going. I've tried to get the Freedom of Information Act to get the budget. And then, you know, when I was doing that a few years back, they tried to put me in federal prison for getting the information that's supposed to be our money, our structure. That's the one thing that helped destroy my family way back then, you know, because I wouldn't believe in their Bible and I wouldn't go along with their crap. So because of that, they attacked my family and went after destroying me and politically and everything because I wouldn't, you know, rape, rob, and pillage for the structure of their Bible, their religious belief. Yes, my family was destroyed, and it's one of those things that I got a comic strip up that the right after I was forced to put my family on the street, literally, the woman wouldn't listen. In 2005, the Oregonian newspaper did a cartoon about that where, you know, it says, well, you know, it's got a dog in the picture, Taz. That was my dog way back then. It said, well, I had to hire somebody in the family. And that's how they do with tax write-offs, too. Churches do that same thing, too. So when it comes to your insurance scam, remember, it's like the lottery stuff. And I do have a proposal for Oregon State Lottery. I got to get done, finish writing that. I'll have that done and put in a proposal on the websites coming up. For 25% of the lottery funds to go to lawful bloodline Americans. You have to live in the state minimum 10 years to qualify, but you have to be born in this country of 5 generations. When I originally put it into the House and Senate a few years back, everybody was panicking over immigration because in the part I have in it, if you were an immigrant that got busted filing for this, you were given $100 in your pocket on the first plane to your native country. No border check, no courts, because you don't have a right to a jury trial. You don't have a right to go to a court. You're a domestic terrorist. You're supposed to be dealt with right then. You don't have privileges. I mean, rights, you have privileges. So because of you have privileges, you don't have rights, and we're supposed to get you out of this country immediately. That's what sort of disturbs me when all these people say, oh, these men and women have rights. No, they don't. They're children. What about the poor children? They were born here. Well, children, blame your parents. You know, they brought you into this country. You know, when women give birth, we get born into a living hell. What we live today, we are living hell. You know, give me this God stuff. And if you look at the word God, God means Satan. Then your King James Bible as well. So the right to travel gives, the Constitution gives men the right and women the right to travel without being infringed. And if you actually go by the Bible says you have to pay the privilege to travel. I don't comprehend how come people have to twist the Bible around the same thing. You know? The same thing. I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's like, I always love it when I get these emails from people who go, the world doesn't have borders. Why should we? The United States of 48 states is not the world of the devil people. The Constitution gave us the rights from the Treaty of 1213 and the Magna Carta of 1215 from the Devil's Land of England, the Pope, the religious Christianity religion bullshit. The Constitution gives you the right to have your religious belief. The Constitution gives you the right to have it, not to dictate to it. The Constitution separated us from mass control of mind control. And you don't even sit there and have respect for your own children. A lot of people don't. And there's a lot of men and women that are educating their children today on the Constitution, comprehending the truth of what the Constitution was extremely set up to protect us from. There's a lot of people who want to interpret the damn Constitution like a lawyer does. That's what pisses me off, how stupid people are. I mean, it's like I'm getting ready to file the other way to file on Kate Brown because I'm almost done with the treason charges on her. But it's like our school system in the state of Oregon, you know. 1 out of 5 kids are so stupid when they graduate school. Literally dumbed down so they're mentally retarded. Dumbed down in the public school system to be mentally retarded on the court system, on the roll. This is a fact, people. They did this deliberately. This structure was deliberately done for financial gain. I mean, when I was up at the Oregon State House and Senate Capitol, in the hallways there, reading bills, talking to people, and I would always get the questions and ask the questions to people, senators and congressmen, and it's like, come on, everybody wants jobs. They don't want freedom. You have to realize that people don't care about freedom. They want jobs. Well, your job when you cut down the forest and you cut down and build these city structures for all the terrorists that are coming into our country, you're destroying our food resources. You're making it so our bodies do not heal correctly. You're making sure that our given rights to travel are infringed. And that is the main thing people have got to realize, what is going on in our structure of life. And this is the whole point. It's our life. You know? It's like, it's our life in the 48 states. It's not our life for the world. So anyhow, I'm going to get the main thing on the right to travel. The Great Spirit, the Creator, gave you the right to travel. I'm not going to use the word terminology, God and all that stuff, because God didn't give us anything. And like I said, look at the word God. I even put it up dealing with Christmas. You know, Old St. Nick, you know, look it up in the dictionary. Old St. Nick and Christmas and Santa Claus is the devil. It says it right there in the dictionary. I don't know how come people have to stray from the dictionary and make up terminologies to misrepresent that structure to the children. That's like the right to travel. People say, oh, well, the Bible says this and the Bible says that. I could care less what the Bible says. I want to care about what the Great Spirit says. I want to care about what the Constitution gives me the right to do, or the woman the right to her body to do. Remember, the woman owns her body. It's her body, not the Bible, not man. And I put up a deal because it's interesting, because in Nigeria, if a man rapes an underage child, what they do is they hang him up and tie his testicles with rocks and let him hang all day. Hell of a thing, you know. Of course, I believe, when I was dealing with that with people earlier today, I believe giving the victim, the injured parties, a sharp and dull knife and let them deal with the perpetrator. You know, to hell with these corporation courts. because they sit there and get paid. They go in to make sure that you pay for your sins. So that means you're paying the court system because you sinned. That means you're going to the church of these programs because you sinned. And that's the one thing that gets to me. Everybody goes, oh, we need to have driver's licenses. Why? I did put it, and I will be having the deal structured on the wall here pretty shortly, for us to be able to get a traveler's card. And that's the one thing that I do believe in, a traveler's card. I do believe that we should have some form of ID so we know the separation of lawful and legal in this country. And who is the lawful and legal person? And I love these people when they go, I'm worried about you and religion and Islam and all this, and Satanism is Islam. It is. Isn't that Islam? Isn't that where what is that called? Muslims come from? You know, how come people can't read the truth? That is the one thing. You know, the truth says it, you know. Going by the truth. People lie to their children today. They do. That's the saddest part. And so when we should stop lying to the children and start educating them on the facts. You know, that's what gets to me about it. So many of these people on Facebook always saying that, well, I'm bitching because they stole my kid. Well, then write the criminal charges. And then they go, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to upset the cops. I don't want to upset somebody, or I don't want to upset, and I've had people actually say this, my pastor, because my pastor said this. You know? It's like people get into the structure where they don't live in reality. That is the saddest part, that people do not live in real reality. They want to live in this fictitious world of fantasy. And like many people say, well, you need a driver's license to drive. Well, because you failed to educate your child. I'm not saying the ones who have done it. I'm talking about the ones who have failed their children. So you failed by the education of your child. You failed because you were scared to educate your child, to tell them the truth, so that way they knew how to talk to a public servant. Remember, the most important thing in the world, we have public servants. And that goes by the Treaty of 1213, the Magna Carta of 1215, King John. And King John is in the King James Bible. Everybody knows that part. So that is the one thing that people need to pay attention to, what the Bible says and how it confuses you, how it mind controls you, compared to what the truth is. The Constitution gives you the right to travel freely. Without the Constitution, you have no rights whatsoever. And so in Oregon, all right, under 803.040, this is your title, your registration to your vehicle. If you read the actual administrative rules, it says you don't need to register your vehicle. You own it if you own it. That's the point. You want to own your covered wagon. I'm not going to call it a vehicle or those type of things. The other thing I do suggest to people, I suggest that you go to DMV and you request the manufacturer state of origin. You make sure you get a receipt when you leave the DMV. Pay the $3. There might be $5 today. Just pay the $5. Get the receipt. Because then when they don't send you your manufacturer state of origin certificate, you actually have the receipt proving that they had it, that they stole your vehicle, they committed fraud, they extorted your property, called theft. And vehicle theft is a federal and state crime. So you write your affidavit and you file it with your county clerk and your secretary of state and your local police department. Exactly what I did. I've done that. That's why they keep coming after me, and that's why they threaten my security, saying, you know, they don't want people to know they have rights. And once you realize you have rights instead of privileges, you get a lot further. Also, too, under Oregon State Law 803035. That's the other part of the vehicle title registration. Says it's voluntary besides 040. And that's the one thing that you need. And each state has it. I haven't done the deal on each state. I haven't had the time to sit down and go over each state manual. I did in California. We've got some of that stuff posted. And I think Mike School has done that on his own website too. But when people are standing and fighting for their court cases, you need to stand with them, you know? Because if it ain't we the people, there is no people. There is no we. There's no country. And then you are directly responsible for lying to your children and signing them over to the living hell they're living. And so that's the one thing that people have got to start comprehending this. Because, I mean, in my affidavits and stuff that I do, I even put in the structure how democracy and the Muslim principle of Sharia law allows for the rape, robbing, and pillaging. And remember, when you put in your affidavits, you always have to write in corpus delicti. Federal was at 183771. If you do not put that in, your court case will always be thrown out. Because you are not the injured party. You're claiming that you're a person or corporation, the structure of your birth certificate bond, that they know that they have control over you by that paper, so long as that you allow them. Me, I filed on mine. I do have identity theft filed, and that's the other thing. I got to mail out another copy of that. But the local newspaper, I mean the local post office here, when I send indictments to the marshals and stuff, somehow I get some of them back, and then when I try to call them up, and I do finally get through, and I ask them where did they receive the papers, and they tell me they still haven't received anything, and I do have confirmation from the post office general himself in Toledo and Newport, and I got letters from them saying that they have destroyed my mail, outgoing mail. I reported that, and the postmaster up in Portland and Salem, Oregon are covering for them. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. These men and women, they rape, rob, and pillage. These are your Christians. All these people go to Christian churches. Stand at these churches with some of these people, literally, and they call themselves Christians, and that's why people say, Ed, you get so hard on Christians. Hey, look at the terminology of Christianity and the Christian Crusades. Go back in real history. They haven't changed. We're living the same thing today. Look at your neighbors. What is that? If you see something, say something. So, I mean, kids are going to jail and being handcuffed and assaulted for farting in class because it's offensive odor? I mean, come on, folks. Have we really lost our minds? Step out of the movie. Watch the production that you are actually living in. And it's true. I mean, I've got videotapes where I've got it where elected and public employees are sitting there like BLM, stealing people's land, laughing as they steal with it because they divide the profits. It's like the forfeiture laws that they say that they have a right to rape, rob, and steal your assets and sell it and reap the profits like the sheriff's sale. Extortion, federal fraud, that's stealing with a gun. Remember, people, they steal with a gun. If we did that, we go to jail. And we're supposed to have sympathy for these fools? Have you people lost reality? I mean, that's the point that really disturbs me. And then don't forget, ORS 446033, 003.33. I hate it when my computer does its own thing. Oh, don't you do that to me, computer. Oh, come on. Now it's doing its own thing again. Somebody got in my back door screwing with me. but it goes by recreational vehicle. And recreational vehicle, the original intent that says in Oregon DMV book, including the revised statute 2015, says it's a vehicle with or without a motor. So that means your boats and all that stuff. Well, recreational vehicle meant that you had a right to travel, and using the word recreational vehicle instead of the terminology that they do today with the other points of a vehicle. And that's the point that you want to realize, that these men and women do this when they say recreational hunting, recreational fishing, okay, when they do that recreational crap, you're making and turning your rights into a privilege. And these men and women, your county commissioners, your public systems, know this personally. They know that you're not educated to do this, to know on your rights. They know that you are educated to know what a privilege is. They know that you are educated enough to say, well, you need to have a license to go hunting and fishing. They are educated enough to say that if I don't get permission from the king or the state corporation, and people will sit there and say, well, we're still a British colony. It's like, no, we're not, fools. Read the law. The law says that the British colonies seceded from Britain when they decided to call it America in 1778 after the Civil War, when King George went back to England. He left his IRS agents in the 13 colonies, which they should have shot back then. The IRS is not a government agency. It is a foreign corporation. You can type in IRS, Puerto Rico, where the IRS agencies are basically from. IRS agents have no legal authority or lawful authority. Don't forget, legal is British government law. That's what it is, British government law. Not American law whatsoever. Never has been, never will be. That's where people have to start waking up to the truth on these things. That's like the Bible. The Bible is a book written by man to control man. That's a fact. Like, I got people all the time that will attack me, even just recently, just on the internet, dealing with my stuff I put up on Christmas, quoting the actual structure of Christmas itself, the way it's actually written, and the way it's produced. And people go, oh yeah, that can't be real. Why do you do this stuff? What, telling you the truth? I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, come on. We know the tooth fairy ain't real, because when you lost your tooth, who put the quarter underneath the pillow or the dollar or whatever? Mommy and daddy. True fact. So why do we sit there and lie to our children? That's what sort of stuns me. I mean, you know, I was in a relationship once, and I wouldn't start lying to the children and doing all this stuff. That's what pissed off people around me. And I had people saying, oh, Ed, you can't tell the kids the truth. I'd much rather kids knowing the truth growing up, and instead of being lied to, and then when they realize what the truth is, and then come back and have to deal with you for telling the truth. So you have to realize this. The truth is facts. Type in England. I actually have on the new.org and Tracker site. I literally have it on the new.org and Tracker site, the 1993 stamped copy of the Federal Archives with the Queen of England stamp, stating that the United States Constitution of 48 states is the law of this land. That was redone in 1993, that the Queen of England put her stamp on the Constitution. It's in the Federal Archives. So that means we're not a British colony. I publicized it in the newspapers. I actually publicized it and brought it up to the Oregon State House and Senate and publicly put it in public meetings. Not one senator, not the governor, not one House of Representative, administrator, so not even the Department of Justice, the Supreme Court justices up at the Capitol at the time, spoke against it when I filed it in record. Now, if it was true that we were a British colony, that the British colonies are running our court systems through the Vatican, which we know that's a reality, because every time that you pay a ticket, so much of that percentage goes back to England, the Vatican. When you pay your property taxes, that goes to England. Doesn't go to your roads and highways. And people say, well, we need more taxes for to build the highways and bridges. You pay a lot of taxes in gas. Where's the money going, folks? Wake up. Quit being stupid. And I mean quit being stupid by these public employees going, well, the money ain't there. Well, ask where the money is. File a FOIA request, damn it. If 1,000 men and women filed FOIA requests and demanded the money, you would start seeing your prices go down. But they know that you're not intelligent enough to file this stuff because you want to be, and that's what some of these men and women, and I've even heard judges say this, that men and women love to be raped, robbed, and pillaged because they need that in their life to have something in their life to talk about. I know women that create crisis creation centers that create problems in their life because their life is going too good, so they have to create something so that way they have something to talk about. That's the saddest part that we're living today. It's reality. We do live it today. Women's crisis creation centers have been created to sit there and destroy families, not to put them back together. Well, that's how they get the women to join the lesbian groups. That's a fact. We got videotapes from the Oregon State House and Senate on that have been proven factual on that information. Not a joke. And that's the one thing that when you get a traffic ticket, you want to say, or you want a jury trial, they're going to tell you, well, you don't have a right to a jury trial, but let me tell you, let me make this clear to you. I talk to other people all the time, says, well, I said this to the judge. I told the judge this. You can't tell the judge a damn thing. That's hearsay witness. If you don't file your instrument before you go to court, and you hold that instrument in your hand, and you go, Your Honor, I'm on page 3. This is the quotation. Do you disagree or do you agree with this for public record? Did you take an oath to office or not? I've got videotapes with another gentleman that actually put up a videotape, and I was impressed. He's still got a heck of a lot to learn, but I was impressed that he actually got a judge admitting on record he's not registered on the 1938 Foreign Administration Registration Act. Hopefully the man is smart enough to file treason charges on that judge through the Department of Justice and have him in prison. It says it right in the Foreign Registration Act. If they're not registered, it's a felony. Mandatory felony. It's not going to court to be charged with a felony. You're already convicted of a felony because you didn't register. That's where people have to comprehend what the Constitution does, not statutes, codes, and administration of some religious belief of a corporation does. Your city, county, and state and federal government is a corporation. Your federal government is the British government called the Vatican, called Christianity, through the Queen of England. Read it. It's real. The Constitution separates that. That's because the Constitution was to protect us from religion. That's why the forefathers, if you actually read their old instruments, they spoke against religion. Everybody goes, oh, no, they didn't. They spoke for religion. No, they spoke against religion because they weren't going to live in the living hell. Why they left to England? Because they left because of religion, because in England from 1710 to 1778, if you had a Bible in your house, you were beheaded. And these are the things that you have to realize and stand up for. Department of Transportation in 2006, 2005. When I was up at the Oregon State Capitol, senators asked for the inquiry of the Department of Transportation, just in one state, Oregon. Excuse me. Just in Oregon. All right. Asked in Oregon for the records of the budget. Well, it turned out just in Oregon, the Department of Transportation bundled out and lost $500 million. So when they asked for money and raised fees, ask them where the $500 million went to. Ask them where the $1 billion went on the uninsured motorist fund and the uninsured insurance fund, because when you buy registration today, you got a third of that money goes in to cover uninsured motorists. So that way when you get in a so-called an accident, you're already covered under the insured motorist. If the other guy doesn't have insurance, you can't sue him. You already got it on your insurance policy. And he tried to explain the truth to people, and they sit there and they were so confused by the reason by the Bible and religion, they cannot handle the truth. And that's the other point I have on the structure that we've got up, the FDCPA Insurance Fund. Judges have ruled that all debts are covered by that. That's including if you get in an auto accident or anything like that. It's covered. That's under House Resolution 192, the 1933 March 9th Bankruptcy Act of FDR's Executive Order 2040. Department of Justice, I have that with the Department of Justice, actually says all local courts are illegal enforcing fees and fines. Department of Justice already ruled on this, but see, people go, well, then how come they're not doing this? How come they're not standing up to go against the agency? That's why it's called We the People. You have to get off your duff and make sure it happens. Because when you're in the business, let's say your business is bringing in $10 billion, and you have to write off $1 billion in paying court fees. You're going to pay $1 billion in court fees and take in $9 billion in your own pocket. Come on, that's where greed works in. You know, it's personal satisfaction of financial gain. And when you type in, what is that called? Theft by deception. Watch the hour-and-a-half video. It'll walk you right through the tax code. On labor, so long as you're earning your labor, there's no such thing as taxes on labor. Immigrants have to pay taxes on labor because they're coming into our country and having the privilege of our resources. Elected and public servants, mandatory by law, have to pay taxes. It's in the tax code. All elected public, you're a registered church member. Registered voter, registered voters, you're saying, oh, I'm going to pay the debt of all these mayors and city council and the senators and House of Representatives houses and their bills that they make for me to pay. So I'm a registered voter, so that gives me the right to pay for them. And it's true, it does. And that's where Kate Brown, a year ago, passed administrative rule. Remember, there's a difference of law. Constitutional law versus statute codes and administrative rules. She passed administrative rule at 17 years old and mandatory puts you in the structure as a registered voter. So on your 18th birthday, now you get a voter registration card, mandatory in the mail. It's already done. It's already filled out. You've already, at your birthday on 18 says you're a voter. You go in and you admit to that contract. You are admitting that you have no rights to your home, you have no rights to your car, you have no rights to the jewelry on your person, you have no jewelry that's in your home, to your assets, because you're saying, I don't own it, the king owns it, the Vatican owns it, Christians own it, I don't own my stuff, I'm not entitled to have the rights to my own assets. Exactly what it means, exactly what it says. That's where people have to start separating the fiction from the truth. When you know the truth, it really starts scaring people around you because you don't play the game. You know, I remember people 20 years ago telling me, Ed, you're creating such a problem, back off it. I've had senators and state representatives, county commissioners, you know, come after me. They've even, a few years ago, poisoned me. They've tried to beat me to death, put guns in my face, shot at me. All this stuff's real. Been there, done it. And if you type in on the internet, too, that police are not required to protect you. Not only that, this was printed in the police administrative books, too, that even Cop Block, and Cop Block is a Facebook page, and there's other structure, too, of the police manual magazine that comes out. They actually wrote it in the police manual magazine, and that's where the police department union has gone after the last couple years. Almost got it through Obama, but Obama got out of office when they tried to force this down his throat. Actually, Obama was not forced. He would have signed this. They're trying to do this with Donald Trump right now, the head of your corporation. Remember, the federal government, as we the people, own it. Article 1, Section 2. We, the lawful bloodline Americans, own this structure. So they're trying to get Donald Trump right now to sign off that police departments do not have to honor or go by the Constitution, and that way they cannot be sued or hold liable when they murder your family members. And they are liable when they assault you, murder you, but you have to file the criminal charges, and you have to claim 18 U.S.C. 3771, corpus delicti. Corpus delicti means that you are a living, breathing man or woman. If you don't claim that, you have no rights. If you allow an attorney to file your affidavit and put it in, it's called hearsay evidence. It's stricken from the record. Attorneys cannot represent you in an injured case. They can represent your birth certificate, bond, and corporation standards when you go into the court system. They can do that. And I do, and when you watch this structure on Oregon Trackers, the producer has got a lot of nice stuff. He runs up and down the structure in this. It's very nice what he does put in the circumstances on this, and it is one of those things that you know, he runs this stuff so people can read what's going on when I talk about the stuff. He puts this stuff with the laws in it so you can see what the laws are, what they say compared to what hearsay is. So, and the Supreme Court even has said, and you can type this in too, the Supreme Court has said that no driver's license is necessary to drive even a horse, an automobile. There's being people arrested for drunk driving on a horse. How do you drunk drive a horse? Drunk drive a go-kart. I've seen people get arrested for, you know, getting arrested on their own property, being drunk mowing their lawn. You know, excuse me, who the hell allowed that man up on that property anyways? A cop does not have authority to walk on your property at all. And the reason why they get away with it is because you fail to file your brother's right on your land, saying that you own the land and he's not allowed to trespass. So you're allowing your brother and sister to trespass on your property for personal financial gain because you didn't file your rights. And I mean, there's many people out there who goes, Johnston, you're crazy. Why the hell do I have to file my rights? Why do I have to do this? And why do I have to do that? The Constitution gave us rights that we have to protect. And so, as they say, the pen is mightier than the sword. So when you start filing your rights and we start getting this, it's like the deal that I have right now with Kate Brown that I'm still emailing out. I'm working on finishing up her indictment on the treason and another charge that's going to be in the same paper. When I get that done here in the next couple of days, once you start filing this and we the people start filing this, the government has to react because they have to, or else they lose their budget and job. It's in the job description. It's in the foundation of the court administration structure of each state county. They know this stuff. And if you don't stand up, it's not going to happen. It's like when they started doing driver's license in New York City. Originally, New York City started, you didn't pay for it. You never paid for it. You just walked into the city hall, and you gave them your name, and you told them what kind of vehicle you were traveling in. And they gave you a card that had a number on it, because they wanted to see how many people were driving in or traveling in the city of New York back in the early 1900s, when transportation vehicles were becoming very popular. Remember, they didn't have license and insurance technically until the 1940s and 50s. Even in the 1970s, most people never got arrested without a license or tags on their car. That's a fact. I grew up in it. I witnessed it. I did the same thing. I knew lots of people didn't have licenses or tags on their cars. Saying tag was is still a voluntary situation. So when it comes to that, what was that? The decision in 1960, Supreme Court decision regarding Frank J. Kane versus Jersey, and position of a $3 to $10 registration fees, followed by 242 U.S. 160. Okay, this is the one thing. Remember, 242 is under 18 U.S.C. code against your public employees. It's voluntary. A statute is not law. That's a fact. That's federal court case. A code is not law. A code is administrative rule of corporation that elected and public employees, immigration, registered church members, and registered voters go by. That's why I'm not in their system. I deregulated myself a long time ago when I started putting 1 and 1 together, and I started realizing 2 and 2 made 4, 4 and 4 made 8, and I'm realizing that all this stuff is adding up for the corporation of the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity and all these people to make a living at our lively expenses. The Supreme Court ruling is on illegally of statutes in color of law. I mean, and if you want, this is what I have written up and already served on the Oregon State House and Senate, the right to travel. This is an instrument that I've actually already written up, served them. I'm going to be serving them again here shortly because I'm trying to get a bill in, and that's the one thing. If you live in Oregon, you want this copy, you want to serve it to your elected and public servants, and you want them to put a traveler's card in if you're lawful bloodline American. And people say, well, that doesn't matter. I have a right. I was born here. God gives me the right. God gives you no rights. The one thing, and a lot of people say, well, in the writings and God this and God that, and Ronald Reagan claimed God was the product of this land. Well, Ronald Reagan, if you actually knew anything with Ronald Reagan when he wrote half his stuff, Nancy ran the country. Ronald Reagan had, what was that, Alzheimer's disease, and didn't even know where the hell he was half the time. It was a product that had to be held at hand to go to the restaurant, to go out in public. He was a public figure, and everybody knew that. Anybody who was close to him and even knew Ronald Reagan knew that personally. It wasn't all there. So these are things that, you know, because it appears a lawful command. That in other words, the statute codes are saying that it's law. It's not law. It's administrative rules. United States versus Minker, 350 U.S. 179 apostrophe 187 apostrophe 76. Look it up. SC 281 100 L.ED 185 1956. These are federal Supreme Court decisions. These are the court laws that say that. Now, in the last 30 years, mainly the last 10, let's say 20, we've had democracy terrorists running our judicial system. And these men and women for the last 20 years have been terrorists. I mean, even Judge Roberts has gone after these appointees that Obama was putting in, and people weren't even listening to Roberts when he's trying to save the country. He knew it. Judge Scalia was murdered if he was going to indict Obama. Bro, that, you know, everybody keeps going, oh, we had the first black president. Hate to tell you, do your history. First black president was done in 1815. We've had actually 2 black presidents in the future. Both of them didn't last long, but we had them in elected. And this is the one thing about police powers and due process or privileges. That's Barber versus Connolly case. You can type that in. New York. So these are things that have been through the court cases, have been even decided going back to dealing with your neighbors in public right-of-ways on using public roads. This was done by Bud versus People, the state of New York, 143 U.S. 517, 1892. Because they were trying to put taxes on the roads, so that way when you crossed over a bridge, you had to pay a fee to get to the next county. Now the state of Oregon wants to put in toll booths now, like California has, which are federally illegal. Oh, we need to raise more money because we don't know how to spend. I mean, Kate Brown just raised everything up 37% straight across the board, drained the fund. Not only that, she's been out there gambling literally in casinos with your public funds, and that's been written in the newspapers around the state. That's what sort of stuns me, how people just go, oh, it's okay. Remember, these people don't love you. They don't care about you. They're going to rape and rob your own children. They do it today. They are doing it today. So it's knowing the structure about your automobile or your motor vehicle, or knowing the structure of your covered wagon. Because I look at it this way, a covered wagon was pulled by horsepower. And so this is the one thing about motor vehicle means description of a carriage. Same thing as a carriage of being pulled by horse. Or other convenience propelled or drawn by mechanical power. Are used for commercial purposes on highways. Remember, commercial purposes. So commercial purposes of a corporation under 18 U.S.C. 31, okay, so you might have to pay vehicle registration and insurance because you're a commercial entity. You're making profit off of the highway. You're not sitting there using it for personal use. That's the one thing that when you read these old laws and they talk about carriages and horse-drawn stuff, and people like want to turn it into these new administrative rules. Also, too, it even includes motor boats and boats with motors that are not even there. You know, I've got the laws on this stuff that you don't need to pay your registration on your boat, especially when you're not on maritime sea going out past 200 miles, nautical miles, into foreign United States international waters. Because so long as you're in the 200-mile border, you're still on the United States soil, technically, is what it means. And that's the one thing that people need to realize, that that's what it means. UCC 9109, that means the goods and purchases for personal use. And these court cases, you know, this is 1968 court case under UCC 9.109. So long as that you're using it for personal use, you're not to pay for it. You're not a commercial industry. In other words, you're not subcontracting a subcontractor out of you that's making personal financial gain off the highways, the right-of-ways. Remember, the right-of-ways even means on public property. You know, it's like even going out to the Bundy Ranch and you're going across the ranch to go to another area and you're hunting and fishing for food. So long as you're not messing with their personal property as you're traveling across the land, you have rights. They know it too, but that means if you shoot one of their cows, you have to cough up the money and make amends. And let's say they want you to sit out there for 30 days fixing fences to make amends. Oh, well, shit happens. You better do it. See, that's the one thing, is getting back to the terminology of what our forefathers left us, what they gave us with the grace. You know, and that's like the terminology of household goods. It's knowing what the words mean compared to what you think it is. And learning that household goods are owned by the user. That's you. It's not for commercial use. And that is an actual federal court case, because the government tried to take people's household good under forfeiture laws and said that the government owns it. Now, Terry Thompson, County Commissioner of Lincoln County, in 1999 got an administrative rule passed that says the state of Oregon owns all the marine life and marine products on your property, and the state police could come in and steal it from you at any time. True fact. I spoke against the bill. I even brought evidence against the bill at the Oregon State House in public hearing against Terry Thompson himself. Of course, he's a con man anyways. Trust me, I've known Terry for over 20 years. Me and him have had many conversations. You know, these guys try to get me to sell my soul to the company store. Sorry, you won't do it. They've even sent their people around me trying to get people to set me up, and that didn't work. But debtors, that's the one thing. To avoid a lien on your vehicle, that means you buy it and own it outright. When you do it, when you buy it from a new car dealership, hopefully you pay cash and buy it at the whole thing at the time, and you request and make a demand from the dealer from your manufacturer state of origin of that birth certificate bond that was created for that vehicle that you are purchased. And that's when they have a birth certificate VIN number, because on your birth certificate you have a registration number that the state registers you with, and your vehicle has the same thing called a VIN number, vehicle identification number. Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing. There's no difference in one to the other. This is where, on your rights to travel lawfully, legally, excuse me. Yeah, and it always says an automobile is always a vehicle, a motor vehicle. No, there is a separation of the terminology of wording, and that's the point, is to comprehend and learn what the words mean compared to what we've been indoctrinized to think. And that's the one thing that we are indoctrinized to think a lot of stuff. And when you look at California motor vehicle, section 260, a private car and van are not commercial use for profit, and is immune from vehicle registration. We've fought this on many cases down there, and these judges will tell you, you have to pay this or we're going to shoot you. We're going to throw you in jail. That's called Title 7, 136.7, Title D, is cruelty to animals, because man and woman are an animal. We're no different than a dog, cow, a monkey, or anything else. We're all animals. As soon as you stop thinking that you're better than another animal, because remember, we are carnivores, we do eat them, and now they got the deal that they're coming out now with these scientists are saying that these plants feel pain when you cut them, and the trees feel pain when you cut them. And so it's like one lady put on the internet, I feel sorry for vegetarians. What are they going to eat now? Because seeing that they won't eat anything else but veggies, and now they're coming out, the scientists are saying that the vegetables feel the pain when you harm them. You know, and then, you know, it's like we are losing reality what these Democrats are doing to us, democracy is doing to us in our own country. This is the one thing that when people realize when you register your vehicle, it is a tax. It really is a tax. It's a tax that you're paying the privilege for you to use your property on your land of the 48 states. You're paying the privilege under that to be alive. That is Bank of Boston versus Jones, 4UCC rep.serve 1021.236. I mean, these are laws that are already in the books. These are stuff that even goes with Kansas. There's a guy in jail in Kansas for driving without a license and stuff in Kansas. Vehicle code of 1915 says you don't need a driver's license or vehicle registration. It's a private vehicle. If you own it, you don't need to register with the state. That goes back to 1915. Because if you're not for hire, you're not a corporation. But how they get you on that, they're saying that your birth certificate bond, you are hired through your birth certificate bond because you never claimed you don't own you. So the state owns you because you don't own yourself. You gave up your regulation to the state for permission to exist on this land, the 48 states. That's how they do the legalese. That's why people say, well, why should I have to file my name and register myself with the city, county, and state to prove I'm me and I own me? Well, that is the one thing that if you don't do that, the state takes ownership and the state puts you as, what is that called? Abandoned property. So the state attorney general and the lawyers and attorneys will put a claim on you for the court system so that way they can put all the money in that, and that's how they make their living divided when they get paid. When public pretenders get paid from the state, that's how they get paid. And realizing that property can move on any highway, byway, bicycle path, like the state of Oregon put in another regulation, administrative rules charging people for bicycle riding now. So I keep on, people are going, oh, well, I should pay this. We need this so I can help and build this. And I'm going to help the environment. What kind of morons? You ain't helping the environment at all. You want to help the environment? Simple. Stop paying taxes. Simple. You know? Quit throwing your trash on the street. Simple. Quit throwing your trash in the rivers and streams. Simple. What do you mean you have to pay somebody to clean it up? How about you being responsible for your own actions? Your waterways and byways are the same thing as highways. You have the rights to travel without paying the privilege. And that actually goes to major federal law that's been notoriously known in history for every court case that men have filed winning this and some women. Chicago Coach Company versus City of Chicago. Your waterways are our rights to travel on the water without paying a boat registration fee. It's like I was in a boat one year and we were up in the lake and the motor died. And so next thing you know, this lady called the sheriff on us because she could see that the boat was floating, and we finally put the anchor out and we're trying to figure out, okay, we realized that the boat wasn't going to start. And the sheriff comes in and starts saying, well, hey, we'll tow you in. And I'm going, hell no, I didn't ask for your help. There's a minute I would have thrown that line to the sheriff's deputy or the police department guy that was there. They could steal the boat and pound and do anything they damn well please. This other guy pulls up next to us and said, hey, you guys having engine problems? And we said, yeah. He goes, well, if you want, I'll tow you in. And the sheriff was going, the sheriff's deputy's going, oh no, we're here, we got it handled, we'll tow him in. And I looked at the sheriff's deputy and I said, you shove it up your butt. I said, we'll take the tow from this guy. Sheriff's deputy's telling him, oh, you can't do that, I'm telling you what to do. And I told him to go to hell, and I threw my rope to this other guy and he towed us in. You know, these men and women don't have a right to tell you to do anything, including wiping your butt. And the minute you comply with their orders, remember, an order is like when you go to a restaurant and you're paying for it. It's like when they pass the House and Senate bill. That's an order for you to pay the senators, House of Representatives permission to live in your own country. You're paying them permission to travel on your own land. And then when you're an immigrant, and then that way after 5 generations you become lawful, you have rights, not privileges. And people get so programmed in this stuff to pay their rights to travel and the privilege on public highways, byways, waterways. It's sad that we get into this stuff where we're asking permission for our own structure. And that's where these people keep going, well, the government owns you, and, you know, we're still run by England. No, that's called the Bar Association. And look at the Bar Association, British Auxiliary Register, the King and Queen of England. And you'll hear attorneys say, I never registered with the Bar Association. I don't know what these people are talking about. When you pass law school, yeah, that's part of your birth certificate of the law school. They know it. They lie. They get paid to lie. The Supreme Court even said, police, judges, and attorneys can lie in Supreme Court decisions. That's how they make their money, rape, rob, and pillage. And their own Bible gives them the right to do that. Even the Quran says they can rape, rob, and pillage and murder. Same thing as King James Bible says the same thing. And people say, well, yes, that's not what the Bible says. I'm going, well, read it. Read the actual words. It's like even Pope Francis, when I filed on his soul in the Vatican soul in 2013, when he became the unofficial Pope in the world. That was in the papers. When he came out and said that and realized that, oh, and then he started resending the lawyers' contracts. You can type in Pope. It says lawyers are, contracts are not involved now. Of course, the Pope is saying that we own all the banks in the world because they're going out the Treaty of 1213, the Devil's Treaty, the contract that the Vatican and King John had. So it's like, I ask people, read real history when it comes down to it. When the country went bankrupt, March 9th, 1933, read House Resolution 192. We're supposed to autograph our bills. We're not supposed to pay them. Water, electricity, food bills, so long as we're lawful, because the national debt is what the British government owes us. So when you pay your property tax, income tax, your state income tax, that raises the national debt, folks. And you wonder why, while you're paying all these taxes, see, it's like Obama made, or excuse me for doing that, Great Spirit. Trump just sat there and wrote off, had the banks sign off $1.8 trillion of debt. And they can do this stuff. Even former Governor John Kitzhaber last May 2017 came out and stated he has no concept why Kate Brown would not write off the state debt and make the state whole again under birth certificate bond insurance. He actually said it in the newspapers. And that is the one thing, you know, Title 42, 1982, property rights of Americans. You know, we have property rights that are instilled, so if you don't file for your property rights, you know, and that includes under Title 42, 1983, the privation of rights. Yes, I slur my words at times because my neck is titanium and my trachea sits on my neck, on the plates in my neck. It's amazing how people go out and slander the disabled because they don't like it when they tell the truth, because they don't go along with rape, robbing, and pillaging. They have more respect for themselves and others around them. And this is the other point that I want to make clear to you people, too. Everybody goes, I want a common law jury. I want a common law court. Common law court of England are not constitution, jury, grand jury courts. Common law is where the judge has authority to go by common law to make the decision. Learn, read, educate yourself on the truth. If you don't go in front of a grand jury, and a grand jury are the only ones that have the right to issue arrest warrants. If it's not a grand jury, a judge cannot issue an arrest warrant. And then you see most of the arrest warrants today done by robo-ink. That's a federal crime. You need to file on it. People, you have to file on it. And people go, well, they're supposed to, we have public employees. I mean, I've gone through that same crap with the state attorney general, where the state attorney general has told me it's okay for them to murder you. I got a letter from the secretary or state attorney general of Oregon saying that, and I filed when the Toledo cops tried to murder me and all this shit and what they've done to me. And they said, well, Ed, sent me a letter going, well, Ed, what do you mean? They have a right. They can murder you. It's not called murder, it's called a homicide. So when you hear a homicide, that means they were murdered by public employees. Or somebody else, and the homicide means murder. Look it up in the dictionary. Don't take my word for it. I always love it. I try to ask people, well, prove me wrong, prove me wrong. Of course, you don't see that too often. So that is the one thing that people have to comprehend with the circumstances of the facts and the reality of what we live in this country. People go, oh, everybody has human rights. Well, only in this country Americans do. Foreigners, hey. And if you're elected, if you're an immigrant and you're in this country and you pay your taxes, you pay your court fees, your administration fees and all that, these public servants are to protect you too as well, because you're paying them to protect you. The same thing as paying a bodyguard. The same thing as paying a security company to protect your assets. No different. Cops are rent-a-cops. That's what they are, a rent-a-cop. Police departments, sheriff's deputies, rent-a-cops. They're not real. They're rent-a-cops. So anyhow, and don't forget your Miranda versus Arizona case. The cops have to read your Miranda rights. They say they don't have to. The court said they don't. If you file, and this is where if you're a citizen, a person, a national, They don't have to, because you're saying that you are a corporation member and you are a Christian, you're giving up your rights. Remember, Christians could be crucified. That's what Jesus, they claim, that died for your sins were. That's what your sins mean. Look it up. Do the research. You know, I tell people this all the time. Look it up. You have to research it yourself. You know, Norton and Shelby County Court Case 118. Look it up. You know, general rule is statutes are unconstitutional. Statutes and codes and administrative rules only apply to elected and public servants, registered voters, and registered church members. That's the law, folks. It's like the British accreditation registry to the King and Queen of England. American Bar Association says it right there in their filing on the internet. The foundation, when they were founded August 21st, 1878. Your Oregon State Bar, your state bar of your own state, Florida, New Mexico, you know, Texas, whatever, says it right there in the administrative rules. Canada is not part of the United States. Clarify that. Canada is not part of the United States. And the one thing, when you do go to court, you always want to ask that attorney for his bar license. Ask him for his license to practice law, and you want to file that administratively in court before you get there. You want the license of the bar. You want the insurance bond code numbers. So you want them, and they're going to tell you when you go to court, you don't have these rights, and that's when you go, well, Your Honor, page so-and-so, and isn't Article 1, Section 10 a contract? Isn't what this court is a contract court? And if it's not a court of record, it doesn't mean that you're committing fraud, extortion. And most of the time, you're going to hear that guy just tell you to get the hell out of the damn building. And I've actually been there, done it. So these are the things that people need to read. It's like The Law by Frederick Bastiat, B-A-S-T-I-A-T, 1850. Read the structure. This is 1850 on how the barristers and all this stuff was set up to commit fraud in this country. It was designed to rape, rob, and pillage you under the name of Christianity. That's the fact that we're living. Anyhow, well, I guess we should open up. I'm looking at the clock. We should open up, see if anybody wants to speak. I know it's Christmas. I don't do satanic holidays myself. I get people all the time that will sit there and go, "Oh, Ed, you can't act that way, and this is what it means." And it's like, I can't act this way. Do the research. You know?
Q&A session has started.
To get into Q&A, hit *61.
So, nobody's interested in speaking up. If you can speak up, you got a question. If I don't know it, I'll do the research and respond back to you next week. I do have up there where they put the structure with the Oregonian picture. I finally decided to put up dealing when my family was destroyed by the Democrats in the state of Oregon, Sheriff Branstetter, along with Kate Brown and all of them. When I did the school board recall, and I went out to do it for the school board funding with Doug Hunt, county commissioner, that was appointed by Don Lindley. These guys get appointed in their office, and then before they get an election, and technically, legally, they cannot be appointed. It has to go to election before anybody can fill that office of public service. But see, this is where people don't comprehend what democracy has totally done to this country. Literally, totally have done to this country. You know, the Christians go, well, we have a right. We have the right to rape, rob, and murder people. People go, that's not what Christians say. That's not what Christians are about. Well, you know, I'm still waiting to see what real Christians are about, because I haven't met a Christian that has not lied to his children about satanic holidays. I have not met somebody who didn't misinform somebody about something because of the lack of their knowledge and education. Now, there are people out there that do learn the hard way sometimes, and that is a blessing, and that's the one thing that people need to learn and be blessed on those things. When you do open your eyes and learn, stop arguing with one another and say, all right, we comprehend it, we're learning, we're paying attention. You know, I mean, that's the one thing, because I was in a relationship once, and because of the lady was not what they call, you know, mustard of what people or Christians think, or people in religion, Bible think. So they had to attack me on it. They had to go after it. You know, and people wonder why, you know, oh, well, when you have children, you get responsibility. That's true. Your responsibility to educate them, number one, to raise them with actual knowledge, number two, and teach them not to be raped, robbed, and pillaged. And when they get raped, teach them how to, you know, take out the assailant. They teach women self-defense. Use a key, a pencil, right to the throat. Right behind the ear. You hit the vein right behind the ear. They bleed to death within a minute and a half. They're dead. I mean, that's the point. If you don't protect yourself. And it stirs me when people say, oh, I'm supposed to die in the name of God and Jesus. Jesus didn't die for you. As soon as you comprehend Jesus didn't die for you and he was actually murdered, you'll come to reality. That's why I tell people all the time. If Jesus sat next to you, you would call him a liar. He proved a miracle, you would call him a liar. Because, you know, people don't believe the truth that's in front of them. That's the saddest part we have. People right now around the world is practicing a satanic holiday, St. Nick and Christmas. Read it. It's there. It's not a joke. You know, I've had people already coming across on the Facebook when I put that up about Christmas today. Well, Ed, you're a little far-fetched here. Oh, Ed, come on. You can't believe this stuff. I sure don't believe in the Bible. The Bible came from England that terrorized this country, that was brought over, that started bringing a flag, a military flag, raping the women, the native women, murdering them, giving chickenpox blankets, and then stealing kids like they do today, right now today, when they steal your kids. They take them to church organizations. They cut their hair. They give them Christian names. You heard me right. Christianity, Christian names. People go, well, my Christian name is so-and-so. Oh, I don't take pride in Christianity myself. Because Christian is a slave organization. There's churches that put up this on their churches last Christmas. It was interesting watching this when I was searching the internet. And they were saying that free thinkers are a slave of Satan. Well, if you actually learn to read the terminology of God and Satan, it's the same thing. Pope Francis came out and said that. So did Pope Benedict before he resigned and was exiled in the middle of nowhere in an island to die. Benedict was exiled. So learn, research, do the truth, get to know the truth. You know, I mean, when you look at the deal where it says in the Oregonian, it says representative, EDWA, and then it goes JOHN, district, you know, of course it has the first number of the district that I'm in. And remember, if you're claiming to be a district, that's where the states and the federal government has said that you need to use a zip code. Zip codes were not mandatory until 1947, using that in the British government system. Zip codes didn't come in existence realistically until 1947. The administrative rules process started in 1940. It wasn't passed until the Administrative Rule Act in 1947. And when you read the Administrative Rule Act, it sure opens your eyes up to a lot of real facts. And it even wakes you up into Christianity in that structure of the Administrative Rule Act. That's the one thing that people, you know, it's like I've got this thing with Santa Claus, the Great Impersonator. Type it up on the internet, read it. Read the structure of what Christmas was founded about. Remember Macy's department store in 1841, downtown London, England, and I put it in the structure, that started sales because they had no sales going on. So I put that in the structure into that so people could actually read the foundation where it came from, the history it came from. And that's the whole point, is that people go with organized religion. Remember, it's organized. It's organizing you, controlling you underneath one roof. So, that's the one thing is learning what the words mean and comprehending what they mean. I don't understand. When a judge asks me, do you understand these charges? You can't be charged with a traffic violation. You got to ask, where's the injured man or woman? Produce an injured party here. If there's no injured party, there's no crime. You have to prove a crime. It's like I put this video up here. I thought it was wonderful. This guy's walking through the woods, and he sees a reindeer. He pulls his rifle up and shoots the first one. Then he sees more reindeers, and so he shoots all 6 of them. Then he walks up to him, and he realizes he just shot Santa's reindeer that was standing with the sleigh. Sort of opens your eyes up to some of the realities of the truth that's going on. And let me tell you, I don't think I've actually had reindeer, but I know elk and venison and moose are damn good eating meat. So is bear, done right. Raccoon I've had, that's not bad if you do it right. Bad possum myself. I've eaten many roadkill myself, a lot of deer, so long as, hey, it's killed. In the state of Oregon, starting in 2018, any roadkill that you find on the road, deer, you can pick up and take home now. I was glad to see that ODF&W, Department of Fish and Wildlife Corporation, started passing some of these administrative rules. I've been after them, and I've had actual Senate bills on this. One of my Senate bills going back in 2004 when they closed the Oregon Coast fisheries down in the name of fraud, what I did prove, at the Pacific Marine Fishery Council, I actually proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Patty Burke and the Department of Fish and Wildlife and all these people lied by closing the fishing industry down. They lied because they took the fishing quotas, the subsistence fishery quotas, and when Terry Thompson passed his fishing bill in 1999 that claimed all your rights of your fish product, marine life, and everything in your freezer and on your property for the elected and public employees called the senators and House Representatives. So when a national disaster happens, they can come in at gunpoint with the state police to steal your food. Hey, this is real. Says they can shoot you too. Kate Brown passed an administrative bill that says they can break in your house if you have arms in your home and shoot you on sight. Type it in. Kate Brown passed this bill that says cops can murder you in your own home. This is not a joke, folks. They are doing this, so when you become part of what they call the elite, you're giving your rights over to Christianity. Says that they have the right to murder. People say, hey, quit picking on Christianity. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie. That's the one point is that that's the problem we have in this country, because people turn words around so that way they can make a living off of it. Just in vehicle registration and insurance, just in 4 years, $3.6 billion came up missing out of the state's funds. $3.6 billion. Debt notes that the British government takes credit under the Bar Association. They couldn't beat us. They know the Constitution is that much power. So that's why the Federal Reserve note came in. Before the Federal Reserve note is, we used to have 32 currencies across the country. Of course, remember, we really didn't have currency until after the Civil War. Prior to that, people dealt with gold and silver and barter. You know, people would go live on a farmer's home or a farmer's ranch, you know, or somebody's property, and they split the wood, they helped with the animals. That's how they ended up with food, shelter. You know, people didn't get paid, and today we do a paycheck. It's still a form of slavery. You're free. You don't get a right to choose your apartment. You don't get a right to choose your land. You know, most of that is done to you. When you think about it, if you know anything about history, I mean, you know, when you go get an apartment, you're still living under a structure. Now, if you're in federal or state housing, I believe it's called William Jefferson Clinton, a big terrorist in this country, passed administrative rule that says if you were in federal housing, you couldn't have arms in your property to defend yourself. And if you had arms in the federal housing projects, you were to go to jail. And you'll say, oh, these people did a wonderful job for us in this country. Jesus, people, wake up to who's destroying your families. Wake up to who's destroying your children. And like I said, do type in firehouse.com. Read what a fire engine and a police car have legal authority to do. When a cop turns on his lights to pull you over to rape, rob, and pillage you because you don't have a driver's license, some states are finally getting recognized, and they're getting lawsuits filed on them, because some states actually have it where if you violate a traffic violation, they demand your credit card and write it off on debit right on the spot. Some states are actually arresting people, and if you don't pay them on the spot with your debit card, you go to jail. You have to pay the rights to travel. This is not a joke. They're doing this right now across the 48 states. And people say, well, Christianity and democracy and Adolf Hitler is dead. Bullshit. You're living in Adolf Hitler time right now today, where the police are rape, robbing, and murdering the children and men and women. It's no different than the 1930s and 1940s. There is absolutely no difference. As soon as you accept the reality of the true facts of what life is, you know, there's a lot of people, we know that Trump is a puppet man or a person, whatever you want. I don't like using the word person. Person means an inanimate object. But see, the thing is, on property taxes, on income taxes, the federal government has even admitted beyond a shadow of a doubt, that income taxes are voluntary. Type in federal income tax voluntary. You'll watch even Congress say it's voluntary, but you watch congressmen go, well, I pay them. They have to pay them by administrative rules. That's when they get a paycheck. If they don't pay the taxes and administrative codes, they're not entitled to that check. You know, 30 years ago, a judge used to make on the average of anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 a year with 100% medical and dental. Judges today are making a hell of a lot more than that, and when they steal children, $125,000 goes into retirement fund, and caseworker gets paid $7,500 for each child they steal and adopt out. And dealing with the Bureau of Land Management that only works for we the people, that only can do registration of property titles only, have no jurisdiction in law. Type in Texas judge rules that you can sue BLM land over illegal land grabs. So if BLM puts a lien on your house, you can sue them. And the other point that I suggest to people, you sue the public employee that filed on you. You file criminal charges on him for racketeering, extortion, theft of services. Because remember, they get a paycheck, that's theft of services. like the Constitution structure says of the law, judges enforce law, bar attorneys enforce international maritime administrative codes. That's what the bars and attorneys do, lawyers do. International maritime law, and so they brought it on the soil. That's called statute codes and administrative rule of traffic violations. That's ocean. That's 200 miles off the coast of our right-of-ways. Technically, you know, a judge is only executive administrators. That's what they are, enforcing statute codes and administrative. And the public is denied otherwise qualified individuals meaningful access to the service programs and activities of a real court. And especially if you are an ADA, you'll file an ADA claim on them. You can go after these judges and file criminal charges on them. A violation of oath, that is when they violate the Constitution. It is a capital treason punishment under Title 18 U.S.C. Code 2381. Criminal neglect. There's the laws that they have on the books that are to protect us by the Constitution. And so that's the point. You need to read this stuff and turn off your damn TV of, you know, what do they call that? Britain's Got Talent. What kind of crap is that? They got Britain shows. All the late night shows today are all Canadians and Britain mind controlling you out of your damn rights. Free speech, and I have the laws on that, even a new court case that even happened. Free speech means you can even tell anybody to take a hike and they can't arrest you for saying something against transsexuals or anything. Free speech means anything. But you have to file and own you. If you don't file and own you, free speech means privilege because you don't own yourself. That's how they're getting away using the court system. And even the Kennedy case, John F. Kennedy, former president of the United States, court case under 1938 Foreign Administration Registration Act, when they went after him, trying to put him in prison for not registering. Okay, he's a bloodline American. Read the court case. The bloodline Americans have rights. Citizens, nationals, and persons have privileges under the 14th Amendment. Don't interpret the 14th Amendment like these idiots on talk shows, these immigrants out there do all the time, to keep you in the system. Their job is to keep you in the system for their own personal and financial gain. As soon as you truly understand that these men and women don't love you, don't care about you, their job is to rape, rob, and pillage for the Vatican, the church, and religious belief of Christianity. Type it in, learn what it is, learn what the structure is compared to what you've been wrongfully educated on. Once you start doing this and you start talking to your public servants correctly, I mean, there's videotapes that law professors have out there that I love them. Says don't talk to police. Listen to them. Listen to what they say. Trust me, they mean what they say. I've been stupid a couple of times where, you know, like we all been stupid at times where I've opened my mouth when I shouldn't have opened my mouth. That's what got me in trouble. You know, but it's learning how to talk to your public servants. And then when you know the codes and administration and the registration structure, and you quote them their administrative rules back to them. I mean, when you get pulled over by a public servant called a police officer, there are some public servants out there, they really are. And it depends on how you talk to the public servants. And I've actually been there, done this myself, known the difference. But it does take time to learn it. And that is the point that, you know, people have to learn this structure. It's like I watch people all the time that go off on a structure, you know, my kid was stolen. You know, the state took my kid. The first thing I asked people, I said, I'm not being rude. I want to know the truth. Did you file on your kid? Do you own your kid? Did you file for your rights? Do you know what your rights are? Do you have a concept what your rights are? Do you know what your rights are? And people go, no. I said, don't you know what the Constitution reads? Do you know how to understand and comprehend the Constitution? Why do I have free speech rights? Well, free speech rights, I have the right to freedom of religion, which, yeah, we all have the rights to freedom of religion. I have the rights to be free from the religion. I don't want to read the devil's books that people read. That people say, excuse me. People say, read the Bible. It's going to save you. The Bible doesn't save nobody. It's a book that controls you. Another judge was forced to resign after he seized an infant from a mother who didn't pay her court fees, tickets. That's what I'm saying. These judges are saying that we are gods, and if you don't pay the privilege to live, we're going to enforce these rights on you. We are Christian men and women. Remember, your judges, attorneys, and lawyers are Christians. Your senators, state representatives, and your public employees are Christians. So when people tell me about Christians, sorry, I don't buy the crap. I live the crap. I witness the shit that goes on. But when you have a judge, and judges, most of them out there, that will sit there and tell you how to live, tell you you don't have a right to your children, that tell you you don't have a right to this, that, and the other thing, you need to file criminal charges on them. It's your responsibility. And when you hire an attorney or lawyer, you give up your constitutional rights. You become a ward of the court. You're mentally retarded. You're stupid. You're dumb. What it means. When you hire an attorney, it says that you're an incompetent man or woman, that you have no intelligence, and you give your authority over to the court system. It really means this, folks. This is not a joke. It's like, I posted this stuff on another website today on Civil War 2.0 USA. This guy, he ain't no American. Because I posted this structure up dealing with 22 U.S.C. Code 661. Definition used as a term of person, foreign national, citizen, so people can actually see what the terminology is. A foreign agent, immigrant is. This is federal law. Code 22 U.S.C. Code 611. Read it, folks. Read it. This is the point that I'm trying to get through your head. You need to read this stuff. Read what the law says. Quit listening to some dumbass damn preacher that doesn't know what he's talking about to keep you in his church so he can sit there and go, well, you got to pay for your sins. So, and where the hell did God need money? George Carlin does a hell of a piece on that one. Oh, you go to church and everybody says, pay for your sins. What the hell? God's dead. Why does he need a dead man's note? I mean, that's the one thing that people cannot see, the facts and the truth. People think that they're going to pay their way into heaven. To me, it's like, God, have we gone to that stupid point? Of course, it's called the Great Spirit, Mother Earth, and the Creator. And if you look up God, even in the Bible, God is Satan. It says it right there in the Bible itself. That's the point that people don't get. The Bible says this stuff. So when the Bible says this stuff, read what the Bible says, not what you think it says. The Bible actually clarifies and states that Jesus and God is the devil of Satan, and it says it in it. See, that's the point that you need to comprehend to reality. This is not a joke that goes on. That's the thing that really frustrates me when people go through this stuff and they ask these ridiculous things about the circumstances of life. You have a right to travel. You have the right to feed yourself. God, no, the Creator gives you that right. Remember, God in the Bible came from England that was shoved down our throats. mind control to us. All these foreign structures, agencies and stuff came from a foreign country, not American. So when you give up your rights over to the corporation and you say you have no rights, you're telling the world you have no rights, so you've given up your rights. As soon as you accept that you gave up your rights, as soon as you stop whining to the world, okay, remember, the United States, 48 states, is not open to the world. We are not a world colony. We are not a world structure. You know, it's like Pope Francis, the devil man, comes out to the world and says, oh, people, you need Christians, open your hearts to Muslims. You know, I mean, if you people are that stupid to listen to a man that doesn't give a damn about you or your children, that are willing to rape, rob, and pillage from you, and you give your rights over, to me that is so sickening, so disheartening that people do that. You know, I mean, it really is sickening and disheartening when people sit there and give their rights over to a foreign corporation called the Bible, called the Roman Catholic Church. Remember, these are foreign corporations, 1938 Foreign Agent Registration. See, I mean, read the Foreign Registration Act. It was put in World War II. This is the structure that was put in from 1774 of the original structure of Immigration Act as well, all right, for the war that we fought against the British government that came to this country to rape, rob, and pillage you, the people, me, the people, all of our children, our future children. These men and women don't give a damn about you and your Bible beliefs. They know that you're willing to give your life up for Christ. They know that because the state of Oregon actually spent money on that to prove you would actually kill yourself and give you over your rights to the state for Christianity. They spent money on these surveys and done the surveys on you. They call you up on the phones and ask you to do phone surveys. I've asked many of these people when they call me up to do phone surveys. I ask them all the time, what is the survey? Who's benefiting from this? Well, we can't tell you that information. But then they want to know your age. Then they want to know how many people are in your home. They want to know your income level. Now remember, they already got a computer sitting in front of them. They already know this stuff about you. What they're doing is confirming to see if you're lying or telling the truth. So this way they put it in a database. So when you go to traffic court, they have the database where the judge reads the database and knows what your circumstances of your finances is. Then they want you to fill out an IRS form. That's why I tell people, if you do pay a court fine and if you do pay taxes, file a 1099-A on them. Let them file the taxes. You paid them income. If they don't file income taxes on that income you paid them, the courts can be closed down for that. That's law. It's been done in this country already in about a dozen courts. That's why it's our responsibility to learn about our elected and public servants, about how they're supposed to work. They work for we the people. They don't work for the Vatican as they do today. And they truly do work for the Vatican and call the Christian structure. I will be having another template coming up here in a few days too. I got several of them I'm working on. But I'll have another one to take back your automobile title and file claim, ownership, property owner of your property. And that means that when you file on your property, called your covered wagon, your vehicle, you put that VIN number in that structure to own your property. The same VIN number that they have on a birth certificate that the hospital issues on your child. It's called a VIN number. Okay, because your kid's a vehicle, basically when it comes into this world, that's the way they look at it, is a ship. It's a ship that was birthed. Why they call it birthing a ship. People go, well, that doesn't matter. A woman doesn't birth a ship. Read the actual laws, folks. That's why it's birthing. When a ship is birthed, and that's how they're able to put financial claim to the birth record. You know, that's like when me and Dave, it was funny, me and Dave filed our coroner's request to see if we were dead or alive with the coroners. Filed it with the Secretary of State, the State Attorney General. We just wanted to see if we were alive or dead. We wanted them to prove it. Because we already know that when you don't claim your birth certificate or your property in 30 days of a child when they're born, and if they do get a birth certificate registration number, and if you don't claim it, the State Attorney General and the Bar Association files on that child to claim it. Well, they really do this stuff, people. They'll say they don't, but man, let me tell you, the job of a public servant is mandatory to lie. What they do best, lie. So, I mean, it's like today, you know, we know that there's technically no Santa Claus. We know the stories have been made up of Santa Claus for the last generations. We know Santa Claus doesn't fly around the world, and they do this with the news where they got this thing going around watching Santa fly around the world. Of course, I have fun with that. Keep going, my God, let's do that for the children so that way we got them under control. And that is setting kids up for mind control. So that way they don't stand up for themselves. They don't know that they have rights. They take a privileged standing. That's what I'm saying. People are responsible for putting their children in a privileged standing. They're making a privilege of the child. How can people not see this? That's what I find totally amazing. That's like your right to travel. You're signing over your rights to travel. Then they want you to sit there and put a carbon tax to ask you to sign over your rights to breathe. That's like when you buy property today, and if you buy a property and you go through a realtor, all right, they have you sign a contract that says you shall do what the city code administration state tell you to do. And if you don't do that, you go to jail. It says it right in the contract when you sign it. Read it. When you buy land today. That's why you scratch this stuff out. You black it out. You black it out. So that way it's unreadable. So when it's even put on a machine, it's blacked out with black markers so it doesn't show up. So that all it is black soaked through, and you can't tell what it says in the contract, so it's eliminated. Or you rewrite the contract to make sure those things are not in the contract. You have a right to do that after before 72 hours. They say contract law. Okay, so you have to rescind your contract within 72 hours. Oh, that's right. That even includes the birth certificate registration. What a concept! The things are there, folks, for us to have rights, to know our rights, to know what statute, code, administrative rule, and privilege of immigration is. Immigration are privilege. I don't have a problem defending immigrants. Been there, done it myself. I don't have a problem with it at all, so long as that they are following our laws. You know, I always love it when foreigners from England and New Zealand and Canada send me stuff and try to get me convinced that, you know, we're a British colony and this is the way we do stuff. No, we don't. You know, I mean, and it's turning out that the Las Vegas shooting, a lot of stuff I brought up right when the shooting happened, turned out that I'm right. More and more stuff's coming out about the fraud over that one, just like the, what was that school, Sandy Hook School, the Boston bombing, when Representative Trumbull even got it and proved that financially the Boston Police Department funded the exercise. That's where people have to realize a lot of these things are exercise. When they do a lot of raids on schools, most of the raids are exercises. And I can attest to that because when I grew up in California, the school system would have exercises with the police and fire department on school property. You know, we act like we were shot, we were wounded. Exercise program the military does today on military bases. They have civilians go on to military bases and do this stuff for exercise training. So, and if there's biocontamination, they do this stuff real. This ain't a joke. So they're doing it preparing for the real stuff. I mean, and they've already been doing chemical structure in foreign countries. Africa has already got the plague going on, literally. They found out that that was due to the immunization shots that the people in that country got. Vaccinations. Do not vaccinate your child. Well, I can't tell you what to do. I don't tell you what to do. I apologize for saying don't. But I wouldn't do it to my child. And I researched. The FDA finally came out. Federal Drug Administration finally came out and said vaccinations cause Alzheimer's. It's poison. So go read the stuff. Read the series. I got people out there say, I'll vaccinate my kid. Better for my kid to go through this than have to go through something else. And it's like there's been a dozen nurses today that have done vaccinations that died from the vaccinations within an hour of the vaccination. In the hospital they worked at died from getting the vaccination shot. This is on YouTube. It's on record. It's been publicly known. You know, it is. Type it in. I mean, I do the research when I get this stuff. People send me stuff. I go do the research to prove it's right or wrong. So anyhow, we've gone on over 2 hours, I think, and you know, seeing that it is, some would call it a holiday. Me, I don't look at holiday structures. So, you know, it's like I got a guy that, you know, keeps sending me stuff about, you know, hemp oil is supposed to help you with your medical conditions, and it's going to save you. And I keep sending him back going, you know, because he makes the stuff supposedly. Well, send it to me. Oh, no, here's my charge on it. Well, when you ain't got money, hey, you're to die in this country. Remember, until the immigrants started getting medical care, Americans had free medical care 100%. No bullshit. But then they started giving our medical care to immigrants, saving them, and we're supposed to die and suffer in the name of Jesus Christ, the Bible. Don't believe in that one. I'm not to die for somebody's sins. They have to make their own confirmations for their sins. Not my point of view. Not my responsibility. And I don't believe in the structure that you should die for somebody else. If that happens, that's your responsibility, your decision if you decide to do something like that. So nobody can argue that point because you made the sacrificial lamb, so you should be respected for it. You know, but that depends on the circumstances too. So knowing the structure of what statute code administration, personal, the wording. Remember, you have to learn what the words are. We've had American English change. So much in the last 40 years is sickening. Literally, so sickening. It's been changed that much. And that's the one thing that people have to start opening their eyes and come to reality. These things have been changed for personal and financial gain of the elected and public employees union, bar members, schools. Let's forget schools are the worst thing we have. They're the mind control product of all the structure that brainwashes your children. Teachers are nothing but a failure because they don't educate children. They program them to be enslaved. I do not support when police and fire department go on school property when they go, oh, meet a cop, do this, do that. I don't believe in that stuff. Then they have these programs out there, shop with a cop. And people send their kids to go shop with a cop. So that way the kid, I mean, I'm going to tell you how stupid people are. I mean, the stupidest people in the world. Because the cop will ask the question about mommy and daddy. Does Daddy touch you wrong? Does Mommy touch you wrong? They do this when they're going through the stores with them. You let your kid go with the cop because supposedly you trust the guy, so you let your kid go, and then you're sitting there wondering why 90 days later you get kidnapped and held for ransom because of something that the cop made a story in a police report so that way he can make an income. Remember, they make an income off of rape, robbing, and pillaging. That's how they make their income. This is not a joke. It's like you've got to know the circumstances. And it's like the other point too. It's like I keep bringing up, and I love these other talk shows now talking about human trafficking. When you register your child, that's human trafficking. When you get kidnapped and held for ransom, that's human trafficking. I love these talk shows that are starting to do this. Like I said, there's been 30 talk shows that came over to Monday night in the last 6-7 months. So after the first of the year, seeing that this is our last talk show this year, 2017 and 2018, we'll be opening the new year in the second week. I think it's the 13th. We'll start doing Saturday and Sunday instead of Monday because, all these guys are changing their structure. Like you said, it's interesting. I've talked to many people that go, my God, Ed, this other talk show is changing to Monday. And I'm going, I know, because people are realizing I'm really telling the truth on the circumstances. These churches are freaking out because people are waking up and not going to church because they realize the satanic structure of the church. They are realizing this in our communities and stuff about the churches, how they mind control. When you go to church, when the preacher starts preaching and you go, man, God, he's basically talking about me, how does he know this stuff? He has communications with the local police department as well as others in the community, so he's testing the waters out to see what you'll tell him. That's how they make good with the cops. That's how they get some of their funding, turning in people so they get funding. This is behind closed doors, not in the publicly known. Remember, they're not here for you. They're there for themselves. That's how they make their income. Their income is about them. Their income is not to protect your child. Their income is not to protect you. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't have a job. If you can't rape, rob, and pillage, you're out of a job. That's a true story, folks. What they get paid to do. Really what they get paid to do. The minute they start honoring their oath of servitude, and that goes back to the Treaty of 1213 that was brought over to this country with the Bible, with the Magna Carta of 1215, and that's what I like to explain. I'll say this before we end the show tonight, the education product. It is simple. The Magna Carta came into existence because of the Treaty of the Vernonia Treaty with King John and Pope back then. King John used to rape, rob, and murder people for the name of God. Still today, your police officers do that today. Rape, rob, and murder in the name of God. So they raped, robbed, and murdered in the name of God, and King John finally got tired of rape, robbing, and murdering in the name of God, and bowed to the Pope and says, Pope, I'm tired of this. Me and my soldiers, we don't want to do this anymore. Or my knights back then. We don't want to do this anymore. So the Pope says, fine. This is where people think they can buy their way into heaven, or they contribute in the churches to pay for their sins. Well, if you give me all your assets and all your arms, your swords, and your military equipment, and you sign all your banks, but back then they really didn't have banks, they had, structure in their own homes, but you sign all your assets to me, and all your soldiers sign all their assets to me, because everybody thinks the Pope is a word from God, and the Pope has a direct line to what they call God. So, if you do all this, I'll forgive you of your sins. So, King John, this is all true. This is part of the Bible. This is part of real history. Type it in. This goes back to England. This is no shit. Goes back to the structure, dealing with why the structure in the 1300s happened. And I'll get into that one night in the talk show. We'll go through the 1300s of England. That's how that relates to the United States. But anyhow, it goes to the point where King John says, okay, we turn over our assets. So not even till a year and a half goes by, the saints go marching on. So the saints are out there murdering people, beheading people in the name of Christ, because they need to have fear out there. So people are praying to God. So that way they're praying to the Pope, they're praying to the church, buying Bibles. So they need to have people in fear. So King John figured out who was doing it and started beheading, and they made arms and they started beheading every saint that they saw. And when they were beheading them, the Pope finally came up and said, oh, you quit murdering my monks and saints and all this stuff. And he goes, well, they're out there rape, robbing, and murdering, and so we want to stop it. We already told you we're not putting up with this. This is how your Magna Carta came into existence. Read real history. So when Magna Carta was signed by the Pope and King John, and then when the Pope died, the Pope had no bloodline to continue on that contract. But the Vatican Church has continued on that contract. They brought that contract to this country with their Bible. And if you read the Treaty of 1871 in the Civil War contract, you will definitely see that structure of England in it with democracy. The Democratic Party and democracy, Christianity, is the British government. We rape, rob, and pillage. If you don't pay the privilege to live, we're going to kill you. That's what it means. So that's the one thing that in this country, before all this stuff came to existence, we never had these structures that is going on today. The native people didn't have that. They believed in the Mother Earth, the Great Spirit. Without Mom and the Great Spirit, there was no children. Without the Creator, there was no plant life, no food. And then they bring their religion and shove it down our throats, and then we wonder why we got problems in this country today. So with that, think about when you do your research. Think about when you educate your children. Give them facts. Turn off Disney channels. Disney will mind screw your kids so bad you don't even realize the mind control in these TV programs. Most of us grew up with TV babysitters. Look what it's done to us until we opened up our mind and saw the light and saw the truth. So with that, may the Great Spirit and Mother bless you. May the Creator overlook you and keep an eye on you, protect you. And may you educate the children around you as well as your own, and keep and file and own your bloodline and claim your bloodline and file for your rights of ownership instead of registering yourself with the state corporation and giving you and your children and your assets over to the King and Queen of the state of England called the Corporation of Public Employees Union in the name of Christianity. So with that, even though, some people believe in Christmas and all this stuff, and I know a different point of view that I have over it, so may you have your beliefs. That's what the Constitution gives you the right to believe in. It does not give you the right to dictate to somebody else. It does not give you the right to tell a woman if she can have a child or not. The Constitution gives equal rights to men and women. Equal. And once you start accepting that fact, I don't give a shit if you're gay, lesbian, two-timing, whatever. It's your business when you do it, and when you get caught, especially two-timing, you have to deal with that. But if you're gay or lesbian, write a contract between each other. Quit yelling, oh, we need to have a marriage certificate, so that way we're run by the state, and we have to go by religious point of view. As soon as you accept that point and stop fighting yourself in your own mind, and start accepting to live life free. Stop being mind controlled. Start being free to go out. I mean, today, how many people you see walking around today? 30, 40, 50 years ago, everybody used to walk around the street. Kids would be playing kick the can. Nobody was afraid or ashamed to be in the streets. Today, everybody's terrified that if you're in the streets, you're going to be shot by what they call a cop that is definitely a Nazi, that is telling you if you don't do what you're told by your religion, we're going to put you in jail because the Black Robe Pope is running the courts by religion points of view. So it's not Constitution courts, it's maritime law of the foreign court system from England under Christianity, Roman Catholic religion. And yes, they are the same. Do the research, folks. Please, do the research. So with that, for the ending of 2017, may 2018 be the year that you file your rights. You look at a different point of view as a new year and start being responsible with your children. Teach the children responsibility and give them life. Give them knowledge. Give them strength. And once you start trusting your children and having faith and straight in the education you give them, we could change this world by the 48 states. The 48 states is not the world, folks. But once they start seeing the 48 states and Americans start standing up being American and having pride back in their country of not being a slave of a corporation for the corporation, the world will pick up on that. But until we start leading the pack, nobody else is going to believe us. So, with that, may you all have a blissful evening, and good night to all.
Thank you for listening to the disclaimers. Both Ed and I would like to thank all the listeners who have listened all the way through this year, and those who are going to continue listening next year. To all those who wish that we weren't saying what we're saying, or what Ed's saying, research. If you find something wrong with his instruments, something that is not law, let him know. He'll fix it, or he'll back up what he was saying with facts. Do not put your wishes, do not put your fishes, do not put your fantasy in there. This program is 95% law, actual law, facts, and the other 5% is So, in the end, guys, may your 2017 have been good, and may 2018 be full of freedom and lawful bloodline American pride. Have a good night.